Let's turn our Bibles. If you brought a Bible, Psalms 116. I'm just going to read a little bit. I love David because he's a warrior, right? Psalms was very much about him. He's also was a praiser and a psalmist. That's why it's called Psalms, is what I used to call it before I knew Jesus. I was like, what is that psalm thing? So anyway, 116 says, I love God because he listened to me. This is, what version is this? This is the Message Bible, right? So they break it down a little bit different. I love God because he listened to me. Listen as I beg for mercy. He listened so intently as I laid out my case before him. Death stared me in the face. Hell was hard on my heels. Up against it, I didn't know which way to turn. And then I called out to God for help. Please, God, I cried out, save my life. God is gracious. It is he who makes things right, our most compassionate God. God takes the side of the helpless. When I was at the end of my rope, he saved me. Oh, I read that and I was like, rock my world. Whoo, that hit really good. So I'm just paying attention because as you see, we're doing construction. We're about to get our new carpet. And not that I just squirreled that, but I wanted you to know why I looked down, because there used to be steps here and over there, and then we changed it to the middle. And, just subconsciously, I could step off, and I don't want to do that. So if you see, go, hey, and stop me. But, this scripture and the way that it's written, different versions break it down in a different way. I love the Amplified because it'll tell you what it means in the Hebrew or the Greek, and then you really get the meat of that thing. It's like, ooh, I like steak anyway, and so I like the meat of the word. And this really tells about, they were trying to kill him. He was on the run many times. People had betrayed him, and yet he says, I love God because he listened to me. He listened to me. It was like you tell God what to do, and he's got to do what you said, and if he doesn't, then he doesn't love you. No, he just knew. He listened to him. He listened as I begged for mercy. He listened so intently as I laid out my case before him. You ever lay out your case before God? Sometimes we do that sequentially. Do you know what I mean by sequentially? Sequentially is like, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's in a row. You're doing it in sequence. Sometimes when we're mad and we're laying out our case, if someone was listening, we'd be like, that's not making any sense at all. Do you ever not make sense at all? Because what we're doing is we're like pulling, our brain will lay out all kinds of files and freak out when we think that there's no hope and there's no resolve and no one's going to listen. That's a big one. No one's going to listen. And so what will happen is we'll just start spewing out from every file that's in our subconscious. And then there was a time, and I remember when you said this, and you don't understand, God. You don't care. Now I'm mad. And, we'll go up and down in all of our emotion when he wants us to breathe, calm down, and make some sense. But it's hard when you've had trauma, huh? So part of hope dealers, hope means a joyful, confident expectation of something good. We're trying to deal some of that out so we can take a bad situation and actually look forward to something good, right? And when your brain knows something good is out there, you will head that direction. If there's no hope out here, you'll just keep plowing through the same thing you always did. Am I not right? Because we've done it. That's how I know. But then what happens is if we're in that stage where we're trying to discover what's going on in the inside of us, we haven't organized the files in our brain because trauma happened to us too often, too quick, too fast, didn't have time to resolve it or bring it to closure. It's almost like you just throw those files on the office desk, papers are everywhere. Well, then when your brain gets triggered and you go back to visit that, that's what you got to look at. And then you're trying to tell somebody and it doesn't make sense. And then what will you say to yourself at that point? I must be crazy. I want to deal with that tonight because we've been talking about how if you record things through your 5 senses, I call them 5 ports in the brain. If you record through your 5 senses and it's just quiet and peaceful, you're sitting there, feeding the birds. sunshiny day. It's just peaceful. It's coming, and that's great. Somebody pulls out a Glock and starts shooting in the air. Well, okay, so now you're going to record louder, aren't you? And whatever it was, however close it was to your person, you're going to record louder. If it touched you as a person, like someone slapping you, pushing you around, you're going to record louder yet. And a lot of us have had all those different things happen. And so we're here to recover from trauma because I'll tell you what, trauma is at the base of all addiction. I don't care if you're addicted to Little Debbie cakes, Harlequin romance novels, or what it is. I don't, it's at the bottom of it. Trauma is always at the bottom of that. And it's unresolved trauma, isn't it? You can say, well, that happened to me, but now I closed that out and I'm over it. I mean, I can walk through it sequentially. I know where it was. I'll even cry a little tear every once in a while of the memory of, but I'm free. That's what God wants to do, is bring us to that point. Religion doesn't usually do that, though. Have you noticed that? If you're new here, you'll just know that I'm that pastor who doesn't believe in religion. When I say that to people, they're like, that's weird. You must be a part of a cult. No, that's religion. Cults are religious, So I believe in a relationship with God. And the word relationship means I'm relating to him and I know he can relate to me. And what did David feel? I love God because he listened to me. I can relate. I know he relates to me. You don't have that, it's very difficult to want to go to church, isn't it? Or Bible study or catechism or whatever your flavor of thing does. There's just something to it that it's just like, if I don't feel listened to, if I don't feel like I count, then why am I here? But you got to go to church because that's where you marry and bury. You got to have one of those places, right? If you don't have one, then you got to go rent something. It's a big deal. I'm just saying, so a lot of times that's what we do. Or grandma went there and we don't want to make her mad, so that's where we go. I don't believe in that. I believe that we love God because he listens to us. And when I beg him for mercy, because mercy, grace is something I don't even deserve. It's a free gift from God that I don't deserve. Mercy is when he withholds what I do deserve. I've been shown some mercy. Anybody here been shown mercy? You know what? I love him because he listens. I love him because I begged him for mercy, and he listened so intently as I laid out my case before him. Death stared me in the face. Hell was hard on my heels. Up against it, I didn't know which way to turn. Then I called out to God for help. Please, God, I cried, save my life. That's exactly what happened to me. But let's go back to talking about the ports as I make sure I don't kill myself coming down the stairs. I'll get it. I'll practice this new thing, and they'll lay new carpet, and that'll help me remember. But so we record things through our five senses. And hopefully you're recording. If you're new here, you might have a little bit of a heightened thing because your body's taken in whether or not you feel comfortable in your chair, whether or not you like the sound of my voice. You're taking in 96% of you has already said, I scanned her, and that's what I think about her. Because we always perceive first, then we receive second. Right? So if you're going to a new store, a new coffee shop or whatever, you've never been there, you go in and you look around and you gather a perception by what you see. And then you go, that's what I received about that place. Well, it's really odd. You can go to a new coffee shop, walk out, and somebody go, that's the best place I've ever been. And the next person goes, I think it sucked. Right? Well, what's the difference? Something here about how you saw it, how you recorded it, came out way different. Those recordings come out different, not because of any decisions that are in the now. It's because of the filter you're running everything through from the time that you were conceived. We start recording in the third trimester. That's what they know. Third trimester of pregnancy, right? The last stage there, our subconscious starts recording. Our amygdala is like picking up everything and putting in little files. Does the baby understand it? Probably not, right? Can the baby communicate it? No. But it'll register in the body. It'll, take in things. We've talked about this before. You know, you traumatize a pregnant woman. There's yelling going on in the house where the baby picks all that up. Right? The baby is aware if mom's stressed. A lot of times when babies are born and they came in that situation where there was so much stress, they have colic stuff going on. It upsets their whole stomach. They don't sleep at night. And you don't connect any of that to that. We'll just look at, like, wonder what's wrong, right? But a lot of times it's because the recordings are off. So I'm saying this so you're aware of yourself. You are your information. Whatever information you have right now is the information you have right now. Whoa, that was genius. You're like, no way. Yeah, so you can't pretend that you have different information that you actually don't have. You got the information that you have. But what if your situation requires you to have more information than what you have, and you go back to the information you have, and you go, I'm just going to pretend I have other information. Do you ever do that? You kind of bullcrap your way through something? I mean, that's what we do. We're like, oh, let's navigate through this or whatever. But you don't really know. And your recording, your perception is seeing this in a different way. We can put on a face of like, sure, yeah, I'm real comfortable at my new job, but you really don't know all of what you're doing. You ever been there? But you're like, no, it's great, great. You know, we do that thing. And so we'll project it like that, but really our brain is in constant search of like, what is the information I'm missing? What is it? So you're not at peace. The same thing happens with trauma when it's trying to resolve, because your subconscious works on solving trauma 24 hours a day. And you can tell it to stop, but its job is to protect you. Your brain would have to shut down. The workings of your soul says, I'm here based on the files that we have to help you figure out what we're going to do next based on the files that we already have. How many of you just got great files all hanging all over the place in your brain? I got some pretty good ones, but then I got some that are really bad. And they're really loudly recorded. They're really loudly recorded. So there's a difference in if I see something loud, it freaks out my brain. You ever have an area where you're like, you've been traumatized in a certain zone or whatever, and you're just fine, but you just walk through a room and caught something on TV, right? And you're like, oh, but that thing won't leave you for 4 or 5 days. Do you ever have that? Chicks have that more than guys do. Because guys can compartmentalize. You know, a lot of them can just be like, that, okay, that was in the script, so we're going to put that over here in this box, and then I'll actually forget it. Where many times if a woman sees something and it's like, oh, that's just, the next day she's thinking about if that ever happened to her grandson. Okay, I don't want to think about that. If, you know, it'll just keep moving like that. So one thing coming in the port of your eye comes in really loud. Well, now that's going to exaggerate any of the other traumas that you already feel. That's called a trigger. And I think people they're trigger happy here in America. Don't trigger me. Don't trigger me. Don't, because there's a part where we don't want to feel pain and work through pain. Am I not right? We're supposed to be happy. We're Americans. In America, everything's always happy. That's a lie from the pit of hell, right? We're people just like anywhere else. And it's kind of pride for us to think that we're somehow above this, that we should not ever feel anything negative. We are walking through a wicked world. We're going to feel something. There are losses. There are gross things. And it's going to touch the ports that we record out of. Those 5 ports. If they record loud, the way they record is the way they're filed in your brain. So now, if I just say something tonight, it goes through and it triggers one of those loud ports, you're going to feel this in your body. That's a true trigger. This little thing of like, oh, I don't want to talk about whatever it is, you know, something you're trying to avoid a subject. You're going to trigger me. That's just you trying to get out of growing. That's all it is. You're going to trigger me. I'll cry. I mean it. You know, it's like, no, that's not a true trigger. If you are triggered, you can feel it because the underside of your brain will trump the top part of your brain and you can't think. You're like blinking like a frog in a hailstorm. It's just coming at you way too quick. And it translates where those ports go loud and your whole body feels it. In fact, they can measure the molecular energy in your cells and how they rev up, but they rev up with the wrong type of energy. It's an overuse of adrenal glands. It's an overuse of all kinds of different chemicals. And it's like, whoa, hold on, soldier. We got to calm those things down. But if we don't, that's where sickness and disease can kick in. Your body will start speaking to you and saying, hello, I got problems. And we think it's totally separate many times from the trauma that we're feeling. No, many times it's connected tightly. And you get rid of the emotional pain, all of a sudden your body gets permission to heal. It's running on a different frequency, and the cells rev up, and they're like, yeah, good day. So let's go snowmobiling or something like that, But when they're not feeling that, it's like, I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to take a shower. I don't care. That's dangerous. I'm not making fun of that. That's real. I've lived that. I've lived panic disorder, and God has healed me. Right? I know what it's like to have PTSD. Now, we are blunt here on Wednesday night when we talk about story, but I was incested, molested, raped, thrown out of a car while I was driving down the right. I mean, I could tell you some stories, and you got some stories too. So some things in my life were recorded through the 5 ports extremely loud. And yet I'm standing here today, and it's really hard to trigger me. I'm pretty sure that somewhere inside of me, if you press the right button, a little something, something will come on. Because not everybody's all, healed up and just perfect or whatever. I just haven't found it like I used to. I just walked through a crowd. I was like, having a panic attack. If I'm at the grocery store or whatever. Sometimes after a while, when you have panic disorder, your body will have a panic attack and there is no reason. It's just now gotten the habit of panicking. So your adrenal glands go, you're watching a commercial on TV about dishwashing soap. I think I'll have a panic attack right now. And you're looking like there's nothing going on. And people will say, what's wrong? What's wrong? And the more they ask what's wrong, the more you can't breathe. You feel like telling them, stop sucking my oxygen away from me. Back up. But come here, I need you. But go away. Right? So, and how many of you have experienced a panic attack, even just one time in your life? Aren't they fun? Just no. And if you get caught in the looping panic attacks, you'll actually start to panic about something different than the things that you were panicking about. And what it is you'll panic about having a panic attack. Now, I don't know if I can go grocery shopping. I don't know if I can ride the bus. I don't know if I can do, because last time I had a panic attack. Now I'm panicking about panicking. So you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? It's funny now, but it's not funny when you're having a panic attack. Those things get started because we recorded really loud. Now, so then we'll say, all my recordings seem to be really loud. And we have a child and we're like, you're not going anywhere, right? We shelter them and we hover over them and we're like, don't anyone say anything, look at them, do. I never want them to ever experience, what I experienced. Well, is that a well-balanced way to raise a child? No, kind of like when you never got a toy that you wanted, and now it's your chance to buy for your kids, and now they're getting anything they want. A little out of balance. Be sober, be vigilant, for your adversary, the devil, goes around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. That's what the Bible says. The word sober there in the Greek means to be well-balanced. So that's out of balance. Loud ports cause us to be out of balance in an area. Now, I'm saying this not to downplay heroin or acid or pot or reading too many books or, jumping every day on a bungee cord because you need the rush. Or I'm saying this not to downplay their effect, but they are not the issue. The issue is in the heart. They're the outward sign that an inward problem is going on. And you can remove heroin and set it to the side, put it over here, and your body's got to heal of different things. And now it's even more exaggerated where those ports, went really loud, and that's what makes it so scary to leave that thing. But the issue is still in the heart, isn't it? Be so sweet if we just go, here we go, meth, we'll just throw you out. There, healed. Woo, you're great. No, because wherever you're out of balance is first now going to show up. Sometimes we're working on ourselves and we're going along and we're growing wonderfully, and someone gets sick in our family, or there's a sudden change. Someone ends up in a wheelchair. Maybe they're paraplegic from a car accident or something like that. The shift of everything changes, doesn't it? Now what happens is we begin to work on that person many times more than we're working on ourselves, because we're in that survival, like must-save family mode. Anybody here ever do that? Especially if you're a caretaker on top of it? Well, you don't leave them. I'm not saying to leave them, but we will readjust everything to save. We must save. We must save. And okay, so what if you're stuck in save for a year? When did you work on you during that year? This thing, that trauma thing went, and we recorded it really loud, and we're trying to resolve it really loud. Sometimes things that were recorded really loud actually need a quiet voice. The complete opposite of survival techniques. Like, I gotta go save myself. I gotta get up. You don't understand. I gotta be in their room. We gotta get them medication. We gotta, whatever it is. And then sometimes that person passes away and you're lost because everything was centered around that person and you never developed you. But when things are recorded really loud and we answer them loudly, we're not going to bring peace to the area that's loud. So then it'll say, I'm even more afraid. It's almost like it feels like it can scream at you then. And then if you answer it back by letting your life scream at it, it gets worse. A child who's having a fit even, they don't need someone to hover over them and have a fit with them. I told you to stop. How many times? Well, now you're having a fit. A fit's not going to meet the need of a fit. You actually do completely the opposite. Hey, buddy. Yeah, I can see you're mad right now. All right, I got you. No, you're going to continue that. We're going to need to sit in time out. Or whatever your method of discipline is. Even if it's spanking. If you spank at the level they're acting out, you're being an abuser. That's not a spanking. That's like, like the parents who grab them by the arm, and then you swing around, and, they're trying to escape, and you're, okay, no, you're meeting them where their explosion is at. You got to ramp this puppy down and meet them differently. You bring the peace to the situation, but it's hard to bring peace to situations if you're loud inside. Right? Trauma makes us loud inside. It takes those recordings and says, remember when? You better do some of that. And our breathing changes, and we breathe from our chest, like some of you are doing, even as I'm acting it out, because I'm up front and I get the privilege of seeing it, and I'm a pretty good people watcher. We're supposed to breathe from our where our stomach rises and falls. But the more we're talking about this, the higher your shoulders are going, the shorter your breath is. Then that registers in the brain. It tells the brain, we're dying. We're not getting the oxygen. Something bad's going to happen. And then it'll start pulling up trauma files. So you have to take charge of your body and say, I'm going to calm down. Anything that happens here, I can handle. That's a silly little thing, but it happens to people all the time. It used to happen to me, like I said. First time I came to church, there was revival going on. I mean, the music was like, yeah, and people were raising their hands. Some people were crying. There's a lot of emotion in the room, and I'm a people reader on top of it. So I come into the room, and I'm like, and there's no seats except for in the front row because people don't like to sit in the front row. So I got to go up the front row. Well, I'm sitting there, and I have a panic attack. How am I going to get out? I'm going to get out by going past all these people. So I run out to the parking lot having a panic attack, and I throw up, and I don't understand what's happening with me. That's intense. But my recordings were loud. So if I saw you crying, it was loud. if I saw this person laughing, that's loud too. There's a lot of loud stuff. And so when you get in crowds of people, it feels like people are screaming at you. Has anybody here had that experience? Right? And we'll just be like, stop, is the feeling. It's like, you're all up in my grill. Maybe a family member just says, hey, where do we put this? And you're like, why are you yelling? Right? We answer them back like, you're always up in my face. Well, that's because you have a loud recording inside. And you're trying to calm it down, and it feels like you're recording them louder because your ports are open. So this is an actual thing. When I say your ports are open, we record through our 5 senses. Now we have to train the brain to record, just like on a radio. Let's go ahead and turn that down. Yeah, but something bad could happen. You don't understand. Yeah, but we'll still be aware. Right? I'm still going to feel it. I'm still going to see it. I'm still going to be able to hear it. But I'm not recording that loud. Well, how do you get it to do that? We have to practice peace. The Bible calls peace shalom. That's what the word shalom means. And the word shalom means nothing's lacking. You just have this sensation like, actually, nothing's lacking. Nothing's broken. Whatever's going on, God will take care of me in it. And nothing's left wanting. I'm complete. The more complete we can be on the inside, the more we can come up on a trauma situation, handle that situation, and walk away with having taken care of and loved the people involved, but I'm still okay. But if my ports are loud, because I've been through some stuff, and now I'm going to go rescue Terry, something happened, I got to go rescue her. Now this loud comes up, and what I'm seeing here is loud. It takes a while to debrief that. You can have flashbacks a lot when it comes to that. It's a cycling in the brain when the brain's trying to solve it. So, I could say, well, we can calm those ports down. We'll just put you on medication. There's a time and a place, probably. I don't know. Time and a place. I'm not a big, let's go get medicated. Don't feel bad if you are on medication. Just make sure you're on medication for the right reason, for the right length of time, and you're getting the right effect. We just don't wander around, they told us to do stuff, and I don't know, we don't do that. We get educated about it. We make a plan, because people without a plan have a plan to fail. So we make a plan in the whole thing. But in that's supposed to help calm down your ports. And sometimes it's so loud, it takes something to just go. Now, interesting, my ports were so loud from all the traumas that I went through, and as they calm down, I have a real strong effect. I can drink chamomile tea and be wiped out for hours. People are like, you want some of that? And they can just drink, a pot of it. It's chamomile tea. But I have really strong effects. If, I can't do drugs. And what I mean by that is if I'm a NyQuil, just half of what they tell you to have, I'm wiped out. Part of that is because my ports still receive things really loud. So however I heard in my brain, the body responds that way. Isn't that interesting? And this is another thing they found out. People say, I don't know, I took a half a bottle of Tylenol. Didn't feel nothing. Didn't do nothing. Well, your ports changed in that area for some reason. And now it's not affecting. It should have an effect with one. So you can be desensitized to the medication because of what we're feeling emotionally, believe it or not. Or it can be over-exaggerated. Like if I take Tylenol, I shouldn't drive. These are things you should know about me. You're all like, I took 5 and I don't know, I didn't do anything. No. Right? Also, don't drink coffee. Oh, man, now we're getting into it. I don't drink coffee. Because, I love the smell of coffee, but I sold some one time, and we had this, it's called Homemade Gourmet. And, so I had to make these little cappuccinos or whatever, and I thought, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even know how to make coffee, right? I don't like the taste of it. But what I found is I can't do caffeine, because the same way one thing will wipe me out, caffeine will send me through the roof. And you see how fast I'm talking right now? I'm decaffeinated. If I was caffeinated, I would be annoying to myself. I'd be like, will you shut up? So I know that about myself. And all I did, they had these little sample cups you could take, and I was like, oh, all right, I don't know if that's how it's supposed to take. And all of a sudden, I was like, have you ever seen homemade gourmet before? Can I help you? And I was like, I don't even know where to go. But that's how my system runs. So we need to know how our body runs, but we need to understand and become sensitive and aware of how we're running, just in case those ports had an effect. Because we record this way. All right, is your body turned on really loud and you're really sensitive? Or to compensate for that, I just shut it all off and I don't feel anything. Oh, they got a high pain threshold. I've got some of those areas too. Like I don't know. I had a cow step on my foot when I was a kid. I was barefoot, which was kind of dumb. But anyways, and wouldn't get off. She's standing there, just chewing her cud. And I'm like, get off. And I'm yelling and she's chewing her cud. And so my foot just ballooned like that. And I remember, I was a kid. I recorded that really loud. The response of my parents, though, said, that ain't that big a deal. Just put some ice on it. You'll be fine. Right? Anybody who was raised like that? Really, in translation, is we're not going to go get that checked out because that's going to cost a lot of money. So, if her foot falls off by tomorrow, maybe we'll go in. It's that kind of feeling. So, but what that told me is don't feel. So one way you can go, oh, and you can like suck the air out of the room and record through your 5 senses, your sight, your hearing, everything's really loud. And then in other situations, you're like, whoa, that was intense. I don't feel that. It's no big deal. I don't cry at funerals, right? Sometimes people tell me that I don't cry at funerals. I don't have an effect. Sometimes medications will cause you to calm down the ports, and if you stay in it too long, you stop feeling. That's dangerous. That's dangerous because then when you go to cry, you can't. Yeah? So I had a guy sit in my office, he pinched his arm, he's like, I can't even really feel, I just don't feel nothing. I don't feel lost, I'm just like walking through like, am I even here? That's dangerous. You go and get some things switched around and never go off of medication because of what I'm saying, first of all, but never go off of medication where you're just like, oh, throw it out. Oh, no, don't do that. Because your serotonin levels, everything have been geared around that, especially if it's been like a year or more, that's pretty intense. It takes a while to wean off of those different things. And here's the thing, if you wean off of it and you couldn't feel, guess what happens? You start to feel everything. And then that feels like, I'm not used to feeling. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? I feel everything. Huh? I'm saying all this just to make you aware you're not crazy. These things are real. They do happen. The biggest thing and didn't I tell you the same thing? I've told many other people. I have to look at them in my office and be like, almost like, psh, look at me. You're not crazy. Right? Because that's the biggest feeling that we get. If we have too much emotion or not enough, I must be crazy. That's just thrown around too much. You're not crazy, right? You're not crazy. So sometimes when we start to feel emotion and we weren't allowed to express it, that can make you feel crazy. Because the majority of your training is to work on not showing the emotion. And now let's say that you stuffed, which is, depression works like this. It means to press in. So I press that problem, this problem, that. Then all of a sudden it gets up here and it's like you just got your nose out of the water and suddenly, then everything comes out. Everything you pressed in comes out. Well, then it can look a little crazy when that happens. You ever have one of those moments? I call them wigging out moments. I've wigged out before. I was just like, I don't know what happened last night, but I don't want to talk about it. Because every file came out and I just like all over everything. And it didn't make sense. And then you gather it all back up and shove it in the file cabinet. Close the door. You're like, don't talk about that. That was weird, right? Because if we talk about it, then it makes us feel crazy. So part of what Hope Dealers does in dealing hope is that we all should get to a point where we're so relaxed. I can say some of the things I say, And I'm not crazy. I'll tell you something. In a hurry today, I was in a hurry. I do crazy things. Like, I have longer eyelashes to begin with, so I don't need much mascara. But if you look real close, I'm missing a bunch this side because they got these little shavers now that I was inexperienced on. They're like, you can shave off the, excess eyebrow. Now I'm like, doing this in a hurry, and also, whoop, oh, man. So now it's long, short, long. I'm just saying. You have to be comfortable in your own skin. I've been in a hurry before and showed up, and I had long eyelashes because I put mascara on this side, nothing on that side. Don't know why. I was just like, we'll skip you, And then people come up, and they're talking to you, and they start to stare as they're like, uh-huh, and you realize they want to say something, but they're, yeah. We have to get used to and comfortable talking about where we're at. Sometimes we'll wear our professional face, and it actually is our profession, right? Like, you've worked in counseling, right? And if she just stays in her counseling face, when does she ever get to address her? There's a time you put that hat on, you're like, this is about other people right now. But there's a time you put a different hat on, you're going, actually, it's all about me right at this moment. I'm going to cry. I'm going to get mad. I am going to express this. I'm going to relate to where this came from. I want to bring closure to something in my brain. You can't do that. You have to stay under this hat of professionalism. That's how you die. That's how you die young. So I want to give people permission tonight. If you don't get anything else out of the class, you have permission to love yourself enough to share your emotions. Now, I also tell people, the Bible says don't throw your pearls before swine. So I was real careful to begin with who I shared different stories with. Like I just said, I was incested, molested, and raped, or whatever. I can say that, so matter of fact, because I have reached a point that I don't really care what you think. But you really care really loud when you're in those beginning stages of healing. You care a lot what other people think because you're afraid this is going to get triggered. Well, I don't trigger anymore on it. So now I don't care. So I'm at a point that, I can lead when it comes to something like that. Because you can't take somebody where you haven't gone and you can't give them what you don't have. I don't have everything. I haven't gone everywhere. But where I have gone, I know the backlash. I know where I've come from, right? But if we don't get used to talking about the small things even, like, I don't know. My mom said that really hurt my feelings. Whatever. That's the line right there. Whatever. Let's push it away from us is what that says. I'm good. We've talked about that before, how those are phrases that if you listen to them closely, we're literally saying, go away from me. That's what they're saying, like, whatever. Yeah, whatever. I would like to see whatever is. Bring it close. No, whatever. I'm good. Those are all phrases. I thought of another one this last week is if Beth was going to say something really important to me, and I was like, highly unlikely. No, important to her. And then I kind of look at her, and then I start, I don't know, doing this number or whatever. And she says, never mind. Think about that. Never mind. We're not going to engage intellectually here. We're not going to come, just never mind. I don't want your mind right now, never. Because you hurt me and you're not listening, so never in the mind. See, our words mean something, don't they? Isn't that crazy when you break it down? You're like, oh yeah, that's the message we give. So we go, never mind. Especially you add the voice tone to it. You're like, no, but wait, I want to talk about it. No, never mind. Never. That's a big word. And so when we look at how we're feeling and if we recorded things really loud, then, and we're afraid of people triggering us, how does that cut us off from our Creator? Think about that. Religious churches can cut you off from your Creator because they're not really representing who He is. They're representing a form or a pattern that everyone follows, and we actually most of the time don't know why we do what we're doing, but somebody made it up, and that's why you do this. And then when you leave the church, you act totally different than you ever did in the church. We had church. I came in, I was good for that moment. I did whatever they said. Stand, sit, stand, sit. Okay, you can go. See? I'm good, right? So we copy a form, but then we leave and act totally different because there ain't nobody telling me what to do, and I'll do my own thing. Well, that's dangerous. So that doesn't help. So you try to go to God and you come into a form church. There's that form, then you're going to just be like, well, tell me exactly what I'm supposed to do. You're not going to search it on your own. You're not going to seek relationship with him. You're not going to wonder if he's listening to you, like David said. Oh, I love him because he listens. He listens to me. He's not going to listen unless you stand twice and sing 2 hymns. God does not listen unless you follow that form. Actually, I can be anywhere and he listens to me. So I have a relationship with him. But can you see how if your ports are really loud, you're trying to get to God, and the number one way we do that is go to church. To hear something, hear his word. I'm not saying don't go to church. I'm all about church growth, and I'm all about people getting in. But those beginning stages is like, I don't know, it's like I can jump across Grand Canyon. Yeah, thanks for asking me to do that. I'm not Evel Knievel. I can't get across there. That's a big step a lot of times. I think you come to a church like ours and it gets all crazy up in the house. People are, because they're free. They're like, woo, yeah, and they'll do things like that in the service. And you're like, no one's telling me what I'm supposed to do. That's right. That's right. You do you. You're building your relationship with him. Because one day we'll all stand before him and we'll answer to him. And we can't say, but Beth. He's going to be, I ain't talking about Beth right now. I'm talking about your heart. Did we have a relationship? Are we okay? See? When our ports are open really loud, we're like, I'm out. That is too much information. I can't figure out all of this. And we'll back away from God because we've been wounded and the ports are loud in our head. Is that God's fault? No. He usually gets the blame, though, somehow. If you loved me, if you were God of love, why are there wars? We have all those questions. Why? He's holy. There's no sin in him. He listens. Now, us, on the other hand, there's some things we could be working on, right? And this is a wicked world that we're walking through. So we got to put this in perspective. We can't do the blame game. I always side on the side of God. Because he either is or he isn't. And if he is, which I believe he is, he's pure. And he's not a man that he can lie, is what the Bible says. Now, men and women, on the other hand, woo! Like I said, we lie like dogs. We'll manipulate. We'll do whatever we can. I mean, look at our America right now. It's a little bit embarrassing. It's a tad little embarrassing. Because there's so much of that going on. And we're here as pilgrims passing through this world. We're passing through. And so we're going to be affected by the things around us. We have to make choices by the things around us. We can't hide if our ports have been recording loud. We have to take charge of our life and calm those ports down, don't we? Right. I'm not saying you haven't been through something. I'm saying I know you have. But the only way you can go through something is through. If you go around it, you will be right back at the gate of it all over again. The only way you can go through something is through. Through hurts. Through brings things to closure. Through causes a heart change. That, if I'm going to go through, if I got to bust those doors down to go through, I am going through, and it hurts, and I got some bruises, everything, but guess what? They're down. I don't have to revisit that. I grew. That's what we want. We want to grow from glory to glory, from precept to precept, or command to command is what the Bible says. We literally grow in him like that. So that means just when we think we plateaued and we're like, okay, I'm at a good place, situations will be like, actually, it's going to stink here for a little bit, but you need to grow. Scripture says, be ye perfect as my Father in heaven is perfect. The word perfect there means mature. And the word be means I'm actually calling you to it. I'm not bossing you around. Right? I'm saying, come on, be mature. Why? Because the more we're mature like our Father in heaven, the less we're so loud. Loud thoughts keep you arrested in development. Arrested in development means wherever you were traumatized, especially as a child, especially under the age of 13, you will only grow 18 to 24 months past the date of that emotional scarring. 18 to 24 months, right? It's called arrested in development. If you don't get three things, if you don't get new information, permission, right? You have to have permission to move ahead. You have to have the information to move ahead. But even if you have those two things, if you don't feel safe, you won't move ahead. Safety, permission, and new information. Safety, permission, new information. So if you're hitting up against a wall and there's a loud port or whatever, you got to ask yourself, do I feel safe? And if I'm not, why? Do I have permission? Are people holding me back? Has God given me permission to move ahead on this? Yeah, then I'm going. Well, no one else agrees. I don't care. I'm going, right? Safety, permission. And then I can't do this new thing without the new information. I need to be informed, information, right? And then what we do with information is we take our responsibility. In America, we like to make our responsibility everyone else's responsibility. If you would have never done that, then I wouldn't feel this way. Okay, yeah, maybe some of that's true, but I can respond with my ability to grow past whatever it is you did. That's the word responsibility. I'm going to respond with whatever ability I have. Well, if I go to respond to a situation with the ability I have and my ability is inadequate, I better go get me some more information. Right? Which means I have to have safety and permission to do so. That's called maturing. That's called growth. Right? And so if you go to a church and you hire a pastor to be mature so that you don't have to be mature, you read the Bible. That's what I thought. I thought, why am I reading the Bible? That's what we hired him for. That's how I grew up, you know. Then you get the Bible that we had catechism. We got the Bible with the little gold edges on it. Like I said before, I didn't want to ruin those pages. I kept it in the box. Because that's when I graduated. I was an 8th grader. You don't read it, though. That would be a little crazy. That's that guy's job. So if you had that and you put it on someone else, then what else are we putting on other people? If Dawn would just change, then I'd be okay. Dawn may never change. I need to find a way to be okay. Y'all hate me one day. I got to be in a spot where I'm okay. It's like, stinks for you. That's how I'd look at it. I'd be like, stinks for you, because, I don't mind hanging out with me every once in a while. You're going to miss out on that, But whatever. I just move on. But you have to come to a place where the loudness in your head has been calmed. Be still and know that he is God. Now, I try to do it without God. Anybody try to do it without God? Right? You're like, I'll go do this thing on my own, and then I might go to church, and God will be impressed with me. Huh? You don't need to go to church. You don't need God if you can do everything on your own. You don't need him. If we're all that in a bag of chips, what do we need to go to church for? We're wasting time. I mean, we come to church, we come to things that'll give us safety, permission, and new information, whether it's in church or a positive class at some other building or where we're constantly growing so that we can come up in our most holy faith. And as we walk through this wicked world, it doesn't matter how loud it is, we'll be walking through with a calmer tone. Now, you don't have to raise your hand. I attempted suicide when I was 17 years old, right before I gave my life to God. I didn't give my life to a church. I gave my life to God. Remember? I remember, though, the feeling that built up to that day. it's like adrenaline will do this. Right now I can see you all, even if out of my peripheral, and I'm taking in all your emotions, and I'm a part of the whole group. I don't know if you know that, but I am. I'm part of the whole group of what's going on. But if my pain was loud, then the adrenaline shoots off loud. Adrenaline causes you to go, whoo, and you look at what's in front of you, and if it goes off louder, you only can hear what's going on inside of you. You forget that you got a grandbaby. You forget that you got a really cool job. You forget that you just bought a car. You forget. You don't care about any of that. That's when suicidal ideation comes in, because everything goes, whoo, and it comes from that loudness. And if you've ever experienced it, it's loud. Huh? I've never had someone sit in my office go, I had the thought of suicide, and it kind of sounded like, if you want to, go ahead and take the gun. I mean, it's up to you. You don't have to. No, it's always screaming inside, going, just get it over with. We just got to get out of here. Escape. We got to go. We just can't stay here. Nobody understands. It's really loud, and it makes no sense after a while, but it makes all the sense in the world. There are people who, through medications or different things like that, can methodically take their own life. But the majority of people are ramped to a point where their receptors are feeling everything, and then they just don't want to feel anything at all. And it's loud. So if we don't learn how to take the one problem that's loud in our head, one problem, not all of them, just one problem, and calm it, shh. You got to have somebody bigger than who you are, though. Or you'll start seeking out codependent relationships like, you got to heal me. You're my friend. She can help me. She can't heal me. There's only one who can heal your heart. There's only one who can heal your soul, which is your mind, your will, and emotions. There is only one, the one who created us to begin with. That's why religion doesn't cut it. If religion cut it, we wouldn't have suicide, right? For all the people, whoever, but people in churches are still doing it. Because there's loud recordings. I believe there's people sitting in this room that you contemplated it this last week. Now, you knew enough to go, just like, shut up. Shh, just stop. I'm just going to go to Walmart. Somehow Cambridge, that's the cure-all. I don't know. We found that out when we moved here. We're like, so somehow Walmart's like the place. You just wander around your cart. At least you're at home, not at home doing whatever. Probably spending nothing or too much. But nothing in balance, right? Because home represents where our deepest thoughts reside. As soon as you open that door, whatever you haven't dealt with yet is now waiting for you, because you're not going to change the subject. Now, sometimes people use porn. Sometimes they use all kinds of different things. Those are subject changers. Like, I just got to disappear. I just need to be gone for a little while, okay? Then I'll come back. Well, those things train the brain that you're still doing something really loud, because you're doing things you're not supposed to do, so it's loud inside of you, even if you're quiet on the outside. Because you know this ain't no good for me. But it's loud. And you can get addicted to that feeling, because sometimes we don't feel anything, right? We've talked about. And then by stealing something or doing something we're not supposed to do, then all of a sudden we feel. If you think about why people from Hollywood, you'll whether it's true or not, but let's just go with it. It's true. They go and they steal a necklace at Walmart that's worth $20, but yet they live in a $20 million home. And you're like, I'm not connecting. I'm not seeing the connection here. Why? Because they have everything. They can't get a rush off of anything anymore. But if I go do something I'm not supposed to do, I feel. So that's when the ports have been so loud. They've been on stage. They've been, hey, can I get your autograph? Huh? People touching it. All the ports are taking everything in. And then they're at home on a downtime, and it's like, I don't know what to do with nothingness. Meth will do that to you. Loud, 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 loud. Okay, let's take it away. I am pacing. The carpets wore out. I don't know. We need to do something. Should we do a craft? No. We'll do this over here. What do you want? It's like, it just, because the ports have been ramped up to so loud. And this is where families sometimes don't understand. They'll be like, well, if they've been free from it for 2 weeks, I think they're ready to make some real good decisions right now. Now with those ports, they're still screaming, you just don't have the drug in there. So it's either so loud that you have to do something to shut it up so you don't feel at all. And you walk around. Like I've said before, I've talked to many people. I think at one point in my life, I'm kind of animated and stuff like that, so you'd know if I was really depressed because you start to talk like this and your voice doesn't really have a lot of inflection. Oh, yeah? Your grandpa died? Oh, yeah. Well, anyway, I got to go to work and see, it's really level. Because it's that, Eeyore. It's that feeling of, like, I'm not going to let myself feel, because if I feel, I will lose it. We don't trust ourselves. And we don't trust ourselves because we don't have the right information. We might not feel safe. And what you don't want to do is, if you're married especially, do not look at that other person and say, you should not feel that way. Oh, they're going to feel something now. They're going to feel something, and then you're going to feel something. Because it's a form, Dr. Phil calls it emotional rape. If I say, this is how I'm feeling, and you go, well, you shouldn't feel that way. Oh, it's too late. I already do actually feel that way. That's why I'm telling you. So now it's a double fail. No, your feelings are real. Right? Those are real feelings you're feeling. Sometimes our facts aren't right, but we do feel what we're feeling. So that's why terms like build a bridge and get over it, just, let go and let God. There, healing came to that side of the room. Forgive and forget. We do those things that are like pat answers. Christians are good at pat answers. I've been just praying for you. And then we walk off and the person's like, thanks, I was thinking about killing myself. It can be a pat answer. Because you know why? We don't have the information either. And that's where God is saying, oh, I'm about to change this. And so that's why we have this group and many other groups. So we can get in the habit of talking about stuff you're thinking anyway, but you're not willing to say. Sometimes I say some pretty blunt stuff that I know people are thinking, but they ain't going to say it for sure. It's kind of fun, actually, because I like getting stuff out. So especially if I see your face go, oh, she said it, good. Because that's what I'd like to say, but I just can't do it. So there's something to that. If your ports are loud, we've been on this for a little bit. I'm coming at here's one mountain about ports. I'm coming up the different sides of the mountains just talking about it. And the biggest thing you're learning is self-awareness. If you go to sleep at night, you shut the light off, you lay your head back, and you have flashes of light in your eyes, your brain is overstimulated. It's loud. It's pitch dark in your room, and I can still see lights. What? You can ask for that, like going to a concert and being right in front of the bass woofer for 3 hours. And it's like, and you're like, And then when you go home, you'll definitely see those lights. But you'll also see those lights if you had a really bad day at work, or a bad week at work, or a bad life. You'll walk around and it's like that. And you can tell yourself, I'm fine. I'm good. Whatever. I'm good. We'll do that. But really, we're overstimulated on the inside. And then a lot of times we don't notice it until it shows up as sickness and disease. I've had all these things. So I'm not taking you out of some book. I've read the books. And then I set them to the side and I'm like, I'm going to take you where I've been. Because you know what? That's where you've been too. In some way or another. And I want you to know that you're not the only one, because here's what suicide ideation does. It says, there's no one feeling the pain that I'm feeling. No one's ever been through anything like I've been through. You don't get me. You don't understand me. I just need to check out. And none of that's true. None of that's true. At my worst of what I've been through, and I've been through some things, I've also talked to, I talked to a guy he was in Sandy County Jail years ago. And I was teaching anger resolution, which we're going to teach here. And he said, he said, I don't know if this could be part of anger or not. I'm not sure. See, he was disassociative from this. And I said, well, share your story. Well, he had a scar that came across his face, like double line like this, right? His mom was high on heroin. They were having a party, and she stuck him and his sister in the oven, right? Sister was on the bottom part of the rack. He was laying over top of her, and his face came right where the rack, right? Right, sister died. He did not. He was so disassociative from that, he wasn't quite sure if that should bother him. Do you think that? You know, because sometimes I get angry, but I don't think it's that. Do you think that? Because in order to compensate, you have to shut that down so you don't feel. It's horrible. We don't want to do that. But sometimes victims who have been through something that extreme, you know, they shut it down enough so they don't lose their mind. Because literally your mind will, you know, and you got to bring it down. You got to have safety. And a lot of times right when we need safety, where's the people? Hello? I need safety right now. I don't feel safe by myself. There's no people. And we don't know how to ask for people. Well, I don't want to inconvenience them. And that's how he was coming across. I mean, you don't have to counsel me, he said. I mean, you don't have to. It's okay. Why? I said, I want to. No, but I don't want to take too much of your time. I know there's a lot of people who need help. See, he's getting it off of him when really it's like everything should shut down for this guy right here. It's about time he talks about some of this. And sometimes it, you know, really needs to be that way for you. Whether you start out with counseling, you know, a one-on-one counseling. When I say that, I see the faces. Beth knows what I'm talking about. I went to counseling, and you know, there's some good counselors. I'm a counselor, so I'm not against counseling. But at the same time, it just was book smart on certain things and never got anywhere. I need somebody to get all up in my dirt, right? Call me on some things. Help me with some things. Cry with me. Snot, dripping, mascara running. Let's get this thing done kind of thing. And I didn't have that. So then all you have to do is think about money. That'll get you out of counseling right now. It's like, I don't know this person. Then I got to go spend that, and then they're going to bill the insurance, and there's a big burden. And we make it really big in our head, and we don't go get help. Then we'll think, well, you know, number one person that people try before, believe it or not, they go to a counselor is their pastor. I'm just saying, there might be fail in that zone. Right? Because a lot of pastors haven't learned about the whole of healing. Right? But we'll go there and we're like, we pay you, and you talk to the big guy in the sky, right? So do something. Right? And then we'll go in there like, well, nothing happened. I don't know. He prayed. I don't know. No, you need permission, safety, and new information. And God will move on that. Safety, permission, new information. God will move. He'll bring wisdom to you. And suddenly the lights will come on in your head. You'll be like, that's what I've been waiting for this whole time. Right? But if we're in a spot where we're putting it on somebody else, then that's hard. Well, sometimes we'll go to counseling, and here's how it goes. It's like, all right, thank you for coming in. You have an hour. You can leave the check right here, $150. I need that right there. You're not able to afford groceries? Tough. You need me. So we're going to put that right there. I mean, it's just a world system. People have to make money, but that's how you feel because you're hurting. And if you don't get some answer in that hour, you know, and how do you open up in an hour when you don't even know this person? You're supposed to have safety, right? That's hard. That is really hard. That's where if you move in and you get to a good church or whatever and you meet just one-on-one with somebody, start to get to know them, you can start to slowly let your hair down because this thing took years to get in. It's going to take some time to come out. There ain't no McDonald's fix on this. Are we right? It isn't like, there, just tell me that thing so I can go. No, sorry. It goes in, and then it's going to take some time to come out. And it didn't go in pretty, so how do you think it's going to come out? So I remember going to a counseling, and I tried to be all pretty about it. I don't want to think that I'm weird or whatever. And so, yes, of course, and this happened to me, and I was just like bullying my way through it. And then started asking questions, and I'm like trying to shut the ports down up here, the ones that have the tear thing, right? Then you start blinking really fast. You're like, oh, no, that doesn't bother me, And and then I'm like, why is this hour taking so long? That's a person now that we got some progress going. They're not just going to leave you. Where you leave, this is how you know. If you're in counseling and you leave and there was no assignment, you didn't have a breakthrough, and or you're standing out on the steps of that office and you go, I don't know what happened in there. Guess I got to go back next week. Don't go back. Don't go back. You're looking for safety, new information, and permission to grow. As you do, it's going to change your life. Huh? So to be a whole person, you have to be whole mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Spiritual trumps it all. How do we know that? Because if you let go of your body, who's more powerful, your dirt and water that's laying there, or you as a spirit? Right. So who should get more attention? Spirit. This world is backwards. We're like, just give the body whatever it wants, right? Have sex with whoever, do whatever. The body needs this. That'll make me feel. And your spirit's like, I need God. I need forgiveness. I need to know how to relate to him and to relate to the people around me. I need love. Huh? And David said, I love God because he listened to me. He listened as I begged for mercy. That's because he screwed up. And he's asking for mercy, and he listened so intently as I laid out my case before him. Others were messing up. The whole thing was a mess. Death stared me in the face. Hell was hard on my heels. Up against it, I didn't know which way to turn. Then I called out to God for help. Please, God, I cried out, save my life. Save my life. God is gracious. It is he who makes things right. What did I just say? Who's going to make things right? It's God who's going to make things right. Our most compassionate God. God takes the side of the helpless. When I was at the end of my rope, he saved me. Now, here's what he says after this. I said to myself, relax and rest. God has showered you with blessings. He's talking to himself now. He's like, you're going to be all right. Oh, soul, you've been rescued from death. That's another port. You've been rescued from tears. And you, foot, you were kept from stumbling. Just chill out. It's going to be okay. Isn't that interesting? David, who was a warrior to the point they would cry out, Saul, Saul killed 1,000, David, tens of thousands. He was a warrior. He wasn't a victim. He was a warrior. And yet, even as the top warrior in the land, he knew God was his answer. He knew he was. He's going to rescue me. Do you see it? We need him. Let's stand. If you're a person who got shut down in dealing with the trauma, if you think I'm going to do an altar call, I'm not, okay? So calm down because your ports are getting louder. I can hear them. I'm like, holy cow, calm down, soldier. I want you to, and you're not able to get to that place of peace, please come and talk to me. I have a team of people. We can help you work through that. And you don't have to join a religion to do it. Isn't that wonderful? You don't have to go through the filter of religion before you get to God. And we're not going to tell you what we think. We're going to tell you what he did to set us free. You go try that, and it will work. Okay? So if you're here tonight, I just want you to know, you can get that counseling. And it's free. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And sometimes when I set it up, it's like, I guess we've been in here 2.5 hours. Because the first half an hour is not when you feel like sharing the worst of what's happened. And then usually when you're in counseling, you're in the last 15 minutes, and you're like, I know, and I'm hurting. And they're like, all right, time's up. I'll see you next week. Be sure to lay the check over there. And you just feel like and then you don't want to do that again. And this is why people will show up 2 times is what they're saying, right? And then they're done. I got to find a different counselor. Well, you're going to find, if they have the same training, you're going to have the same experience. If you come here on Wednesday nights, I will tell you ahead of time because you need to feel safe enough to know what's going to happen. I'm going to make you mad, sad, or glad, or all of the above, because that's what it's going to take to change. Am I not right? I've said this before. You don't want to go to a workout person, a trainer, and you go to them and you're like, I'm here. Oh, I'm on a 6-pack, and I am just going to, we're going to do this thing. But I'm not doing that exercise, and don't tell me about that thing. What, broccoli? Where does broccoli come into all this? I'm just here to get a body that something different, right? It doesn't work that way. That trainer's going to make you mad, sad, or glad, or all of the above before you have what you're looking for. Right on? So, Father, we just come before you in the name of Jesus, and we thank you for the newness of life and your word. We thank you that we can look to a warrior, and the warrior speaks that, oh, yeah, I love God because he listens to me. And he's a warrior. Wherever we're a victim, everyone else is a bully. We refuse to be victims, but we are going through some things. We're not going to let it victimize us. We're going to rise up in the areas that we can to safety, get permission. I'm giving you permission right now. I give you permission right now to grow. Your subconscious needs to hear that. Don't hold back. Don't let others hold you back. You run the race. Go. Go. This is your life. Thank you, Lord. And new information. I pray, Lord God, new information comes their way, whether it's here or somewhere else in the great book, however, that they're able to process it, eat of that, and bring about change. There's some really hurting people in this place tonight. Some things went down that, it was wrong. Whether you participated in it or it happened to you or both, it was wrong. So we learn how to call a spade and just call it out. And that's what you need to do. When you go home and you're sitting there, you can call it out yourself and be like, you know what, that thing was wrong. What happened was wrong. But here's what I'm going to do that's right about it. And if you can't find that plan, please come and get some prayer and some help. Okay? Let's go out with a song, Lisa. What you got back there? Yeah, about 5,000 of them. Yeah. Let's pick one. Thank you, Jesus. We got that song, Hope, Bring Hope Alive. Is that up? Yeah, that works too. I like it. Because I just think sometimes music sends a message to our heart that brings comfort. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Rescue. Psalms 91 says, because you have loved me, saith the Lord, I will rescue you. I will rescue. I will show you my salvation and my wholeness. The source